Bismillah, alhamdulillah, sallallahu wa sallam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man ihtada bihadihi ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Problems are occurring because of lack of wisdom and lack of goodness in interacting and speech. So Abu Faraasa al-Karmani rahmatullahi alayhi says, whoever lowers his gaze from that which is prohibited and controls himself from following desires and fills his inner self with taqwa, consciousness of Allah, and he gets himself used to eating that which is halal, then his Faraasa will never falter. His Faraasa being his inner sight, being able to see things that perhaps other people take longer to see, or other people may not be able to see at all. So lowering your gaze from that which is prohibited is clear. And though we may not be able to logically make a link, okay, why would looking at something which is prohibited have a negative effect on the person? It's very well known amongst the Salaf of this ummah that looking at that which is forbidden has a negative effect on memory and darkens the heart and darkens the nur of knowledge, the light of knowledge. And this is why Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah would say, if he forgot knowledge, he would say that this was due to a sin I've committed. And a Shafi'i would say the same thing. And it's narrated about one of the students of knowledge that he once looked at that which was forbidden, and his teacher told him, why did you look? You will see the effect of that look even after a while. And he says afterwards that after a couple of years he had forgotten the whole Quran just from that one look. The second thing is controlling yourself from desires. And desires are not all negative, so long as they are permissible within the boundaries of Islam. However, generally speaking, they're mentioned with negative connotations, and so the majority of following desires is negative. And a lot of the scholars have even mentioned that doing too much of halal, too much of that which is permissible, could have a negative effect. So, for example, food or drink, the asl is that they're permissible, but too much of it has a negative effect on a person's insight and on a person's wisdom and his memory. The following point is filling one's inner self with taqwa, consciousness of Allah. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ, and fear Allah and Allah will teach you. And so there's a link between taqwa and knowledge. And this is why the scholars say, from those people who you should take knowledge from. So who should you go to take an opinion from or knowledge from? One of those is the one who has most taqwa, because the one who has most taqwa is most likely to be guided to that which is correct. The following point is filling his outer self with following the sunnah. An outer self is not in reference to clothing or one's skin color or hairstyle or things like that. Rather, it is what is often referred to in the books of tazkiyah as samt. Perhaps this can be loosely translated to approach, the approach that a person takes to everything. So the approach that he takes towards speaking, towards interacting with other people. And regarding this, the famous scholar of hadith, Imam al-Bukhari, he had many praiseworthy qualities, but three of them stood out. The first was that he spoke very, very little. The second is that he never concerned himself with other people's affairs. And the third is that he never concerned himself with things that didn't matter. And he spent most of his time, all of his time, in knowledge. So not speaking too much, which has become something that many of us have been afflicted with today. We always have an opinion on something, or we always just like to speak for the sake of it. And this definitely has a negative effect on an individual's insight and wisdom. And this is why many of the scholars of hadith would say, I'm not going to accept a narration from such and such a person because he speaks too much. Simply that. He speaks too much, therefore I'm not going to accept anything from him, because the one who speaks too much is more likely to make more error. And the final thing is eating that which is halal. Eating that which is halal. And eating that which is halal, as Abu Faraasa al-Karmani mentions, gives a person insight and allows Allah to accept his dua.
الكونين